Okay, it's my pleasure to welcome back Lester Blum and Vladimir Rios, who several years ago started a collaboration, and it's been a great collaboration, working together on many great projects. Recently, it's been a children's book. We want to hear about Beyond The Swirl from Lester and Vladimir, but they've also done several other projects, artwork, galleries, so we want to get into all of it. But we'll just start at the very beginning. I'd love to tell a story. So Lester, tell a story how you and Vladimir met and how you begin collaborating, working together, and how both of you with your creative minds have developed all these great projects over the years.
Okay, thank you, Howie. As far as how we met, I guess it must have been a dozen years ago at least. And as a photographer, I was always looking for models. And I put an ad in the paper and it was answered by Rios. So with every model, I always met with them prior to even scheduling a shoot. I wanted to make sure that there was a compatibility and understanding and artistic mindset before I actually, photographed anybody. So we met, we had dinner, a drink or two, and we just sort of connected. And from there, we started doing certain photo shoots, and Rios had an idea for a shoot after several shoots that we did together, which I was a little reluctant. So I'm gonna let Rios talk to you about this, because this was the project that actually started us on this trajectory to create all the subsequent projects that we've been working on over the years.
Well, thank you, Lester. I just want to go back to how we met, because it was a situation that it was quite particular that day. Yes, we had dinner, and I remember that we were looking for a bar to have a drink, and
oh, yes.
most of the bars, this is about trust, okay? So this is a story about trust. So most of the bars in the area, in the East Village at that point, they were closed because it was the holidays. And since I don't celebrate the holidays really, and Lester doesn't really celebrate either, we were not aware that most of the bars were closed. Anyways, we stumbled into this bar, and Lester looked at me and said no, really? You want to go to that bar? And I said, well, it's the only bar open in the area. So we went in, and it was quite strange and quite shocking in New York, in the East Village. But out of the whole situation, we finally had a drink, and we had a good time, and we had a good conversation. And Lester says to me at the end, if we walk out of here alive, I would always trust you, no matter what. So after that, we survived the bar, of course, that's what we hear. But after that, we became more like friends and collaborators. And so I had this project in mind, and it was about my life, because back then when I met Lester, my life it was in a different place. And I wanted to have a recollection of that part of my life. And so I said to Lester, I want to do a photo shoot, and I want to capture this darkness about life where people usually are vulnerable, but they don't want to share that with others. And I said, one day I'm going to be in a different place, and I want to look back at my life and remember where I came from. So Lester says to me, you know what, you have so many photographs from other photographers that I don't think I quite fit what you're looking for. So he was hesitant in doing the photo shoot for me. But then a few months after, he finally agreed, and then we went on and we did the photo shoot that I wanted. And we created a special, I guess, creation, I would say. It was the first creation that we had, that it was really special, and we call it Despair. That photograph earned Lester an award, and maybe you want to share that information about the award, because you're the one who won it.
Okay.
So,
the lead photograph in the series was called actually Despair, and it is actually a close-up portrait that depicts the solitude, the loneliness, the emptiness of the individual. In this case, it was Rios. The image was submitted to the Salmagundi Art Club in New York City, which is probably one of the oldest art clubs in the nation. And it won the award as the best photography of the year. So for that, we say thank you. Subsequently, Despair, images from Despair, was submitted to several other art shows throughout the country, and in each case, it received an award. So Despair really was the beginning of this long collaboration into many other projects that we created.
Yes, and then after that, we continue different collaborations, and most of the collaborations after Despair were targeting or not targeting, perhaps.
Social relevance.
It was more like in social relevance, social issues. It was kind of like advocating for other people, and so we created several projects. One of them, it was the Warrior of Hope. I don't know if you want to hold that. We created this series because we felt like the world needs hope. We still do not hope. It was a beautiful series, and it shows different images of like different struggles in life and different groups, demographics, and people, and also shows the vulnerability of people when they are naked. For example, there was like some images of like nudes, but it was like so beautifully done. And I don't know if you want to elaborate a little bit more about the Warrior of Hope specifically.
Well, the Warrior actually was a character that was created. He's a totally fictional character, and he was created as a warrior to give hope to people that needed hope for many different reasons in their life. It could be for sexuality, it could be for disease. It was primarily created to give hope to those that needed hope in the world. From there, we then proceeded to another project, which was called I Still Remember. And I Still Remember is a fictionalized compilation of the lives of many people during the 80s and 90s, affected with the ravages of the HIV virus and AIDS. And it's basically a story, it's a universal story. It's a story of love, loss, devastation, and finally remembrance.
And moving on from that, like that was a beautiful, beautiful story. I did enjoy it very much creating that particular series. And right after that series, I felt like so moved to create something else that reflected more different type of life and people in life. So we created a project that is called Invisible. And the project is about many different people in life, in society, that feels invisible for several reasons or for different reasons. In many cases, it can be because maybe they are handicapped, they're in a wheelchair, maybe because their sexuality, maybe because, like, for example, they have tattoos and they are different. So we try to present different people with with something in common, actually. And it was that they felt invisible in our society. This project, it was actually very rewarding, and we felt like we touched so many lives in so many different ways, and we were able to present a story and to share with so many other people. One thing that we feel like most people who share their story had in common, it was suicide. It's something that we don't discuss in our society. It's something that people who are invisible or feel invisible feel somehow depressed or feel isolated. It's something that society makes them feel like they don't belong. So we felt like very empowered by creating a story that empowers so many other people and that also allow people to share their thoughts and to share and to make other people aware of like suicide, which is something that our society unfortunately don't really understand or talk about. Yes.
Yeah, I'm very moved by it, and the thing that I like about your collaboration is that I can tell that it's had an impact on a lot of people. And my thought, I'll give you guys a challenge, is I honestly feel your next collaboration should be writing a script for a movie.
Wow.
Because I think calling the movie Invisible and focusing on people in the depths of despair is what our society needs. Because look what's happening where you guys live. 9 police officers in New York City have taken their lives. 22 military officers, 22 people who served in the military take their life every day. So I think putting this into film, documentary, whatever, would be a great way to reach a lot of people, because suicide is such an epidemic through our community. I mean, what really affected me is on Sunday nights for several years, I would always watch Anthony Bourdain, Parts Unknown. And I would watch that show with envy about here's a gentleman traveling all over the world who's visited over 100 countries. And then one day I'm driving to the show and I almost drove off the road because I read that he took his own life. He hung himself in France. Same age as me, 62. And I realized if someone like that, or like Robin Williams, who we've all loved, such a comedic genius, who's made it as a movie, as a great actor, a comedian, he took his own life. And Kate Spade in the fashion industry, and Chester Bennington in the movie, and Chris Cornell, both brilliant musicians. I mean, these are all famous people, but so it's an epidemic that has hit so many people. I think taking it to the big screen would be an amazing project that you guys could pull off. So what do you think, Lester?
Well, I think that's a brilliant idea. And actually, I want to backtrack just for a moment on Invisible, because Invisible was a little different project from the others, because we did take it. It's not only still portraits of the individuals, it's their statements as to why they feel invisible, as well as we did videos of the individuals speaking about their feelings of invisibility. So we did begin touching on what you're talking about. But yes, I do agree that, as Rios said, the underlying theme with most of the people that we interviewed for this project, they had depression and thoughts of suicide, and in one case, a woman speaks about the suicide of not one, but 2 of her sons within the time span, I think it was a year and a half.
Yes.
So, yes, we do feel that that is an important topic, and it should be brought to the attention of the general population.
Yes, and I think this is one of the reasons that me and Lester, we sort of work together so well, is because we're always on the same page. And when we create a story, it's a story that is a possibility or a possible movie or a possible, like for example, animation. Every story that we do create with the hope, or maybe that in the future it can be a documentary, it can be a movie, it can be an educational piece. So all the things that we do together is with that vision in mind. So Invisible was actually the first story that we collaborated together, that we created into almost like a documentary. And then moving on from that, we just recently, Lester wrote a book and I just like I was the backup assistant to Lester in this story.
But no, very important assistant, because the basic story was conceived and written, and then when Rios was looking at it, he said, you know what, you need to make it more cinematic. So the first rewrite was creating the story into to become more of a cinematic story so that you could read and actually visualize.
I want to take a little change, make a little change in the interview process, which I think is really cool. So I'm going to ask us all to stand up, and Rock will follow us. And I want us to stand behind the pictures. And Lester, I want you to talk about all 4 pictures as we stand up to tell the story of the pictures. I think that would be really cool and really informative for our audience. So why don't we start right here with this one and talk about this picture, because I think they're all gorgeous.
Thank you. The illustrations for the book were done by a renowned international artist, Chai-Feng Wong. He's, as I said, an artist. And he took the assignment to illustrate the books for us, and I think he did an absolutely amazing job. These are just 4 of the illustrations from the book. The book has 26 different and diverse illustrations. And the story is basically the story of Kathy and Alex as they get lost into the world of dinosaurs, and they traverse 3 distinct periods of dinosaurs. So you have different images here to illustrate. You have here the brontosauruses, just a herd of them walking around. What do we have here? This illustrates Kathy actually befriends one of the parents in the herd, and she's very close to the little juvenile, and the mother becomes very protective. So the story also transcends just the dinosaur story. It's about family, it's about relationships, whether the relationship is with the animal or with her brother. Here you see some of the violence that took place during the dinosaur period, where they were
And by the
fighting.
way, we're going back millions of years, because
yeah.
dinosaurs is where they say that it's the first sign of actual life millions of years ago.
You know, where they're fighting for hierarchy in the herd. You've got the young male fighting against the alpha bull. So the book also has action, it has what's considered a little violence, but it's reality. Incidentally, the storyline, the content was all reviewed by a representative from the Museum of Natural History to ensure that details are accurate as much as we know today. The final picture is as they're leaving the scene of an attack by the I forgot the not the omnivores, the Valraptors rather. They're going across the savannah and they've run out of energy, so consequently the dinosaurs help them and let them ride them. The first time in history that children are riding a dinosaur. Maybe, maybe not. But the story is very cinematic. Rios, you have something to add?
Yes, I just want to add something. Going back to cinematography and illustrations and making it come to life. We just actually, 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, we had a show opening and a book signing at my gallery, Vie Galerie. And what was so interesting about that was that our friend Johnny Shant, he created a special piece that it was a dance piece, a movement to recreate or to enhance the story. So while we have the reader reading a passage from the book, he had dancers creating the same passage in real life for the people who were at the gallery. So it was quite amazing to have the visual and the reading connected.
One big question I have, which I find kind of interesting, is that all your projects, Invisible and The Warrior, were all fascinating based on people. But what was the motivation, I find fascinating, to get into animation for this children's book?
Well, the genesis of the children's book actually took place probably 60-something years ago, when I was in New York on a visiting relatives, and they took me to the Museum of Natural History. And I was fascinated with the dinosaurs. So the thought of it probably was sitting in the back of my mind for all these years, and I don't know, it just sort of germinated, and I decided, you know, I'm going to tell a story about the dinosaurs and children in the museum, and let's see how the adventure evolves. Well, I think it evolved very nicely.
That is, oh, absolutely, it's fantastic. And Rios, tell us a little more about your gallery, because I'm sure you get a lot of artistic and creative adventures, and you love your gallery, and also tell the folks out there where they can get in touch with some of your work at the gallery.
Sure, the gallery is in New Jersey. It's at 106 Naylon Avenue, Livingston, New Jersey. The gallery, it was open with the purpose of a welcoming to everyone in society, to everyone as an artist. The gallery, it was not only for people who are, oh my God, I have a name as an artist, so I can sell these pieces, but also to new people who are like, have this one thing of like, I want to become an artist, I want to paint, I want to draw, I want to do something creative. We do have not only paintings, drawings, photography, sculptures, but we also have live performances. So when we do a show, we tend to have live performances at the same time because it's a little more creative, but also allows people to understand that a gallery is not just a place to see boring paintings or boring pictures or a specific type of art. We are just open to every single type of art. We do like poetry, we do dance, we do drag performance, we do all kinds of stuff like, to welcome everyone. So to us, it's a place, it's a little place that everyone can be whoever they want and everybody can share the art as it is.
Wow, fantastic. And I'm impressed, but you know, there's an old saying, one of my favorite professional wrestlers, Bill Goldberg, says, "Who's next?" So I want to know from my two creative friends, what's next on the agenda in the next collaboration? Because I'm sure you guys are working on the next collaboration.
I take the Fifth Amendment because I don't want to talk about something that we have not crystallized yet.
All right, makes sense.
Well, we do have something. We do have something cooking. Well, we have
I'm sure.
Yes, we do have two things. One thing is we have a show that is taking place at La Vie Galerie. It is Naked in Jersey. So, you want to say something about the show?
But Naked in Jersey is a show that's really, how would I say it? It's depicting the human body in all its beauty and all its power, all its strength. Once you take away the clothes off of a person, you're revealing the soul. And that's basically what the work that's going to be shown at the opening will be showing. It's the essence of the humans that happen to be naked. The gallery, by the way, the website is www.laviegalerie.com. That's LAVIEGALERIE.com. And the email address is laviegalerie@gmail.com.
And if our friends out in Video Land want to purchase some of your books, how can they purchase, like Invisible or Warrior or some of the children's books? What's the address to purchase some of your great books?
All of the books can be purchased by contacting the gallery through the email address laviegalerie@gmail.com, or the Beyond the Swirl is also available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
Awesome. I really want to thank Lester and Vlad for sharing. I hope to have you guys back again. It's been a very creative and fascinating collaboration, and we're looking forward to have you guys back to share what more interesting things and projects you can create for the future. We're waiting, and I really enjoyed having you on the show today.
Thank you, Howie. Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much, Howie.
Awesome.
And Rocco, too.
Yes.
Rocco's great, and we loved having him, and they're creative, fascinating, and someday when they come out with their movie, you can say it started right here.
Yes.
All right, great job.